are deep squats safer than, let's say, quarter squats, right? Because if you go deep into a squat, like we said, that's a little bit more stress on the knee joint. But the other piece is that if you go really deep into a squat, you probably can't use as much weight, right? Your 1 rep max for a quarter squat, if you train it, is probably going to be a whole lot bigger than your 1 rep max of a deep squat, right? And if you're used to squatting anyway, you'll realize that. And I also want to talk a little bit about this one study because I see it cited all the time. And I think it has some pretty big flaws. So I just wanted to speak about it briefly and see if we have an answer to this topic. And the study was by Hartman, 2013. It's entitled The Analysis of the Load on the Knee Joint and Vertebral Column with Changes in Squatting Depth and Weight Load. And I just want to quote some of the things from the study. So one of the first things they talk about in the study, which I largely agree with, is that there are no realistic estimations of knee joint forces for knee flexion angles beyond 50 degrees in a deep squat. So basically, as we descend deeper and deeper to squat, we're not really sure how much stress is going on the structures in the knee, and at least in the patellofemoral joint in this study. And the reason being is because there is a wrapping effect. So the quad tendon will go into the joint and dissipate some of those forces. There's also contact between the hamstring and the calf, which is going to alter the forces as well. And other studies didn't take this into account when they're trying to figure out how much stress is going on the knee joint in deep squats, right? And then the study goes on to have a whole lot of other statements which don't make a whole lot of sense given the first statement. And basically, the study says, concerns about degenerative changes of the tendon femoral complex and the apparent higher risk for chondromalacia, osteoarthritis, and osteochondritis in deep squats are unfounded. Now, this makes very little sense given all the research we just talked about a little bit previously, that deep squatting may potentially cause problems. Now, I'm not saying that deep squatting is bad for you, right? But I do think based on these studies, we have a reason to look into this a little further, right? Next statement that I didn't really love a ton was, with the same load configuration as in the deep squat, half and quarter squat training with comparatively super maximal loads will favor degenerative changes in the knee joints and spinal joints in the long term. And they were basically saying this just because in the bottom of a squat, we have the wrapping effect, we have the the calf bumping against the hamstring, which is going to protect the joint deeper into a squat. The author just stated that we don't have estimations of how much stress goes on the joint beyond degrees of 50, right? How can we make an assumption that deep squats are safe, but quarter and half squats are not, right? That's really unfair. And the last thing the author stated was, contrary to commonly voiced concern, deep squats do not contribute increased risk of injury to passive tissues. I really don't know that this study was helpful in determining whether or not squats are safe. And the reason why I say this is because I have seen so many physical therapists out there quote this article saying deep squats are safe. So look at this study. The study didn't find much besides pointing out the obvious that we don't really know. Right? And I think that should be our biggest conclusion from all this, is that we're not really sure whether or not deep squats are safe, especially more safe than a quarter squat or half squat. We just don't have that research. Here's what I want you to do next, guys. So if you like this show and you want to learn more, I recommend watching this episode. It is Post-Op Meniscus Repair Physical Therapy, an evidence-based guide. What I've done is I've combed through the medical literature on meniscus repair surgery, giving recommendations based on the literature of what you should do in terms of knee range of motion, weight bearing, timelines for that, return to sport, all of that. So go ahead and click on that link if you're watching this on YouTube. I'll put it right up above. And if you're not, you're listening to this, right? Then you can just go into the show notes and then download it from there and watch it. So definitely check that out.